Hello, welcome. This is the job interview preparation challenge. This stream will be not very long, so you can plan for 15-20 minutes max. So today it's the first day of our job interview preparation challenge, and it means for us that we will talk about the values, how to identify your personal values, how to work with your strengths, and how to work with your weaknesses, because these are the things that make the baseline for your preparation for any question that you will be asked. Why values? So today our session is dedicated to values. Why values? So if you know your personal values, you understand what matters to you and what doesn't. If you go to work, you need to understand whether your personal values align with the corporate values of the company, your team in particular, people who you will work with. And then if you know your personal values, it will be easier for you to understand if this work, if this position is good for you. And since this is the main goal, to find a job that will not only bring some financial benefits, but also will make you happy, will help you develop. And now you can see that I started talking about different values, right? That will bring you some security, that will bring you some development. So these are all personal values that no matter what you have ingrained, some people are more aware of those, others are not so aware of the personal values. And it's better to be aware of your personal values, because at the end of the day, you need to know what you are looking for, and when you check the job description, you can see immediately whether you want to be there. It may happen that you have the knowledge gap. That's something what we are going to talk about a little bit later. But at the end of the day, still you see whether your personal values align with the ones that you can see ingrained in the job description. And then if you see that there is a match, or let's say 90% match, you can apply for this job position, and you can see that it can bring you to the results that you want, possibly can bring to the results that you want. Okay, I prepared some notes as well. So let's identify your key values or core values. They are also used in this way. And in order to identify your core values, strengths and weaknesses, it's good to ask yourself some questions. It's not easy to just say, okay, my key values are this and that. So you probably may elicit some core values like family, friends, your security, and others. Maybe you have the value development or career. It can be pretty obvious. So let's put it this way. Some values can be pretty obvious and you don't need to deep dive into what matters to you. Whereas other values are really important and they can be underwater. So you may just see the tip of the iceberg, and the rest of your core values, your personal values, will be underwater, because in order to understand them, you need to ask yourself particular questions. There are different techniques. Some of them we will discuss today, and some of them you'll also see in the worksheet that I will share with you in the evening. So let's see which values can be there. So in general, the list of values, personal values, is really extensive. If you have a look at it, guys, you will find more than 400 different values. So you need to know your key values, and you can see that some of the values, they look alike. And for instance, when we talk about happiness, joy, pleasure, these are they are grouped in under one umbrella, and it may happen that you can put them under one umbrella. So that's why we are not talking about all those 400. This list can be shortened for the sake of comfort and ease of use. A bunch of values that you can pick from, and mainly you need to ask yourself some questions in order to identify. So of course you can pick some values that you think are important for you, but it's better to understand how they align with what really matters to you. So I've prepared one example for you. For instance, your core value. You want to identify your core value. How to identify it? So if you came up with 3-5 core values already, and you want to identify more, you need to ask yourself some questions. For instance, what do you spend most time on? So there is a bunch of different questions. Today I will share with you some of them. And one of the easiest example, the first question that you need to ask yourself, what do you spend most of your time on? If you want to share it in the comments, please do so. In my case, I spend a lot of my time on work, and then work is obviously not the value. So the answer itself is not the value, but it will bring you some information, some input in order to understand what your key values are. And it may happen that from this particular answer, you will understand more than two values. So let's see what should be done. The question was, what do you spend most of your time on? My answer was work. And I start asking myself, why? You need to be really very honest with yourself. When you work with this activity, it's good to have some notes and write with your hand. And in my case, why? Because I can feel independent, and that's something what is important for me. So you can hear that one of my values is independence. And it came from a very simple question, what I spend my time on. The second why, I ask myself why work is the thing that I spend most of my time on. And the second answer that I came up with, which brought about the second value, was the following: because I gain new knowledge and experience. So my value in this case is knowledge and experience. Then the third why, the following: I consider work as the thing that I spend a lot of time on because I can meet new people. And when I meet new people, it means that I am interested in communication. I am interested in community and the sense of belonging. So it can go under different values. This is how it works, and there are different approaches how you can investigate your key values. When you go to work, what is it for you? So for instance, if you're an independent person, it means that you would like to have more power. You would like to have more lean way of management in your company. Then if one of your values is knowledge or learning, it means that when you apply for a job, for you it's important to learn something new. And if you see that they provide such kind of perks and benefits for you, then it's something what can align with your value to gain new knowledge and to self-educate. And the third value, if you have the same value as I do, which is communication and community, at work, when you, let's say if we talk about corporate life, there you will in any case communicate with different people, offline or online. And it means for you that you will have a chance to communicate with different people. And then how you communicate, it's a different thing. So the second question, so now it's good to respond to the same question and to pick some of those values from the list. Another question that you need to answer: what is more important than money for you? All right, so what is more important than money for you? And in this case, you can again ask yourself why. So the answer itself not necessarily is your value, but when you start asking why is it my value, why is it so important for me, why is it more important than money, then this why in this answer, because you will understand the value. And this is information that is really interesting for us. Then you go through the list of the values and you can highlight the ones that correlate with your because. So that's how it works. Another question that I suggest answering would be in the same way, following the same algorithm. What do you reserve time for? Sports, family, maybe cooking, maybe community, probably you take part in charity, and so on and so forth. Again, you ask yourself, why is it important for me? Why do I reserve time for it? Why do I want to spend time in this way? And then you understand which values you have. Another question that I suggest discovering is which states, conditions, values give you energy? And then you have, again, three questions. Why? You respond to those questions, why they are important for you. And after that, you identify other values and you highlight them. The answer to the question why helps you to understand why it really matters. And this is the value that you have ingrained. All right, another question that you have: which values are you ready to protect no matter what? Which values are you ready to protect no matter what? Here in this particular task, you already know some of the values. So for instance, family, maybe it's community and independence, maybe it's respect. And you think, which values are you ready to protect? Then again, our approach with why, because and then you discover what really matters to you, why it is so important to you. And these are the deeper values in this case, and they will help you in fact to understand your motives, why you do something and why how you prioritize different things. Okay, one of the last questions that I would like to offer you is, which values unite you with your people? So this is something about the community and communication. I think here you will have different values and something what would be important for you. Again, ask yourself, why is it important? Why it is important for me to unite with my people? Why this value is important for me? Why? So 3 whys, and then you will have your answers. Highlight them in the list of the values. And here you go. You will end up with some values. Please highlight the ones that are repetitive, that you can see frequently and that repeat over and over again while responding to the questions that we have just discussed. So please pick 5, and the most repetitive, those 5 most repetitive values will help you understand what really matters to you when you work with other people. And that's something what you need to consider when you work with other people. When you work in different projects, not necessarily you need to work with other people, but eventually it comes in this way. But if you're a freelancer working on Upwork, you need to communicate with different people, and you have a choice either to agree or not to agree on some project, and then you see what aligns with your values and what doesn't. If you work in corporate world, and if you work for the company, or you're considering working for the company right now, you can see whether you can read those values through the job description. Not all the time it's clear, because job descriptions are really sophisticated and many of those do not really depict the picture that is in the community where you will join potentially. And in order to understand it, you need to ask the questions. But that's a different part of job interview preparation, to ask those questions that help you understand more about the company and your potential team that you might work for together with. So yeah, in short, you will have some of the values. You will have some projects. For instance, it can be one project, or there might be a couple of those projects that you would like to work for. In our case, let's say we are talking about job interview preparation. You can put 3 different employers, potential employers that you found, the job descriptions that you liked, and you can put your 5 values in columns, and you can see whether you feel this value, whether you can read through this value in the job description, whether you can notice it there. If you can notice, add plus. If you can't see it, then it's minus. In general, ideally you need to end up with not less than 4 pluses. It means that what really matters to you, you can find in the job description of the company that you might apply for. Then it's a really good sign. It doesn't really mean that it's 100% true, but that's a very good sign for you to discover whether this job interview is a good choice for you, whether this job description is good for you, whether it is in general, even one step back, whether it is a good idea to apply for this position. And I all the time say that yes, that's a good thing to apply, to train, to test different job interviews and to see how to behave, to gain this confidence in case you need it. But if you take this position seriously, I would suggest that it's important to check your personal values and whether they align with the job description. Okay, now we're going to the strengths and how to talk about your strengths. Strengths, for some people, they are quite obvious. For others, they are not so. And in order to identify your strengths, I would suggest dividing them into 3 different circles. In the first circle, you can find knowledge-based skills, knowledge, and so on and so forth. The second circle will unite transferable skills that can be used in different fields. And for instance, you're transitioning from one area to another, from one field to another. What are those skills that you can apply easily in your new area? For instance, if you used to work in education, in, let's say, in academia, which skills you can transfer from academia to corporate? And then it will be a really good sign for you to see which competitive advantages you might have, because those strengths may be considered to be your competitive advantages, something what you have and other candidates don't really have. And the third circle that will unite some of your strengths would refer to your personal traits, your features of character that can help you perform well, your personal qualities, and it's good to be aware of those. If you see that you don't understand or you can't easily come up with your strengths, which may be the case, it's good to ask your friends, people who you know well and who know you well, to ask them what they think about you, which qualities they noticed in you. And then you will have this bunch of different qualities collected from your colleagues, collected from your friends, and then at the end of the day you will see that you will end up with personal qualities, or for instance being persuasive, hardworking, people person. These are the things that shouldn't be just taken because everyone is expecting those in your CV. No, you need to think about those, whether you really purely have those. If you're not a people person, that's not such a crucial thing. Ideally, you should be a people person because it's easier to communicate with you. But what if you don't really like working with people? What if you don't like working in front end? It means that you, in any case, you're an expert, but it means that you don't find it and it's not your strength. And you need to be aware of it. Your employer, your potential employer should also be aware of that. And you need to feel comfortable saying that and what you feel comfortable working with and how. So these are the things about the strengths. And the final part of today's meeting that we have with you will be dedicated to your weaknesses. When people come to me and when they prepare for job interview, when I ask them the question, what are your weaknesses? Many of them can't really come up with some weaknesses. It's not so easy to come up with a weakness. You may be aware of you're not really good at something, but whether it is your weakness or not, it depends. And to be honest, guys, I would suggest starting from the job description. So you need to see whether the job description that you liked contains something where you say, all right, this is my knowledge gap, or this is my skill gap, or this is something what I need to master in order to apply for this job. And then you will understand that, yes, so there is some gap that you need to fill in. And after you recognize that this is the repetitive, and most likely it will be the repetitive skill that you will notice in different job descriptions, you will see that this is something what you need to look for. And it may be a really good sign for you not to be sad that you don't really have it or you have it as a weakness, but it's a really good sign for you to start moving in that direction and acquiring new skills, acquiring something what will strengthen your portfolio, strengthen you as a candidate for the position. And then at the end, you will feel more comfortable talking about it and demonstrating it, what is even more important, in the job interview. So in short, what you will have as an assignment, you need to check 3 to 5 job descriptions. Think where you have potentially some knowledge gaps, skill gaps, and perhaps they also mention something about personal traits. Think whether you have them or not. Write this list, but only with those job descriptions that you consider to be suitable for yourself, right? So for you, so something what is good for you. And then write those gaps and think how much time it can take to fill in the gap. That's something what will be useful for you, something what will help you to see how much time it will take to bring your weakness into your strength, to transfer it from the weakness mode into the strength mode, or at least to eliminate the weakness. And some learners ask me, all right, if I see that there is the weakness and I have a couple of those and I still want to apply for the position, should I apply? I definitely say yes, you should apply, because you should understand you should understand them from another side. When you see the job description, you can see the ideal job description of the candidate that they are looking for. And we are not perfect. This world is not perfect. So the perfect candidate can have some knowledge gaps, can have and may have some skill gaps, and it's totally fine. The most important thing is how you talk about it and how you show them that you're ready to fill in this gap within some short period of time, and what your actions would be towards that, or probably you have already taken the first actions. Okay, so this is everything what I wanted to share with you today. This is the first day of our job interview preparation session, and in our first day we walked through the key values, personal values. We had a look at the strengths and how to identify your strengths. And I showed you how to look at your weaknesses. We found out that weaknesses may differ depending on the job description. So now it's time for you to act. You will think about your values. Please share them in the comments, and I will be very happy to respond to those. Share your strengths and weaknesses if you feel comfortable sharing, and I will be very happy to look at them as well. That's all for today. Thank you for watching me, and I wish you to have a wonderful day. Bye!